All right, buddy, we are live. Welcome in. Latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And of course, joined as always by cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, yo, Tennessee Hober?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, long time no see. People wondering if you're still associated with this podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just been working out every day, training for this marathon. No, I've been kind of off the grid. I appreciate the time away, but man, it was a wild one. We got to watch the NFL's final game, the Super Bowl. That was pretty cool. Slash Usher concert, man, took me back. When I was trying to sneak in all those clubs there in Knoxville. Just kidding. I didn't do that. But I did go to a few, and it did bring back some memories. So that was a pretty cool halftime show. But, man, fantastic little football game, too. It came down the wire, and, just as the script writers had it dialed up, Kansas City walks away a champ.
Yeah, and man, it's been so long since we've connected, Shane. I mean, we have an absolutely loaded show. I don't even know how we're going to get to all this news, Shane, but news all about the SEC. We've had some coaches speak, so we got some comments coming up. We got SEC returning production. We got the debut over-under win totals. We got, like I said, news and notes, a lot of coaching news, some player news, so much to get to. Are you ready to jump into it, brother?
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right, so I think the biggest one, Shane, happened I think it was right around Friday, late Thursday, Friday, Alabama. The offensive coordinator who came out here, went to this, it was like a booster meeting. He said, I'm going to be your offensive coordinator. My name's Ryan Grubb. And then his ass was gone about 12 hours later. But I think this is a blow. I don't think this is devastating by any means, but I think this is a setback. Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb leaves Alabama after 30 days on the job. And he's taken the offensive line coach, Scott Huff, with him, Shane. So remember, Washington, this is when they hired the board, I said, hey, they got a hell of an offensive line. Ole Miss got two of their guys in the portal. I mean, these guys know what the hell they're doing when it comes to offensive line. They obviously know what they're doing. And the fact that Ryan Grubb, he's leaving to become the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator just gives you an indication of what his reputation is in the world of coaching. You don't just get these NFL jobs easy. So this is just the latest in the offseason of dismay for Alabama. Shane, I'm not burying him because I like Caleb DeBoer, but now he doesn't have an offensive line coach. Now he doesn't have an offensive coordinator. And these are probably his two best coaches that he had on staff. So I don't know. What do you make of this, Shane? I know you were already down on Alabama.
Yeah.
This has got to further that.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm not burying the program because of it. I mean, these guys are name brand because of what DeBoer did. It's right. His track record that put these guys in a hiring position to go to the NFL. So I'm and say what you want. There's speculation that this was a done deal for several weeks behind the scenes. So I would imagine there's a head start on replacing. If I'm just an outsider looking in, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they were sideswiped, but I think the fan base is a little sideswiped. It's been a rough couple of weeks, Mike, for Bama fans. Obviously losing the great Nick Saban, and then now you're losing 60% of your roster. I don't know if that's the number. That's the one I keep seeing floating around, and now you're starting to see some of the coaching staff, and it's natural. It's just a common reaction to say, hey, the sky's falling. But look at the talent that's there, not just the players, but the coaching staff that's in place. I think Alabama's going to be fine. It's just they may have a little longer road than we thought, initially.
Right, and what Shane was alluding to, this reporting from the Seattle Times, Shane, though the Seahawks had interest in Ryan Grubb from the start, one reason for waiting to make this hire official was to allow for the 30-day portal window for Alabama's players to enter to pass. So, I mean, this is This is dirty. I think it's dirty, Shane. If you're holding off. I mean, I don't think there's many Alabama players that are sitting here saying, well, I only will play for Ryan Grubb, who they just met like 3 weeks ago. I don't think that's the case, but the fact that they waited to announce this, I don't know, feels a little dirty to me. What's your thoughts on that?
That's college football, Mike. I mean, I'm sure Bama fans are like, well, I appreciate it. Thank you on your way out. Maybe it's not such a bad deal, But that's the game we play, and it's not so much for maybe the kids that are on that staff right now or on that team right now, but it's the recruits that they're in the houses with right now, and it's used against them when you're saying, well, man, the coordinator's gone, the offensive line coach's gone, what is this program going to look? It's that negative recruiting. So I get it. Establish a little bit of a solid ground there right out of the gate, but I'm not by no means panicking, but I've seen people talk about Bama being a playoff contender next year, and it's like, well, let's pump the brakes on that too, I'm not trying to put all that expectations on DeBoer's first season.
Right, and just something to consider, Shane. Grubb, the offensive coordinator, Kalen DeBoer, they've been together since 2020 at Fresno State. So these guys have been, working it up there in Washington for quite a while, and there's speculation, Shane, that the number one target, I don't know if this is true or not, but could be Missouri's offensive coordinator, Kirby Moore, who did a hell of a job for the Tigers. He was there at Fresno State under Kalen DeBoer, so there's a connection there. What do you think? If that's their key target, should he go to Alabama? Should he come back from Missouri, second year? Brady Cook, Luther Burden, some key offensive linemen back for the Tigers. I think the way you look at it as a coach is, I have to imagine he wants to be a head coach. So how do I get there quicker? Is it another, Missouri wins 11 games next year. You got to think Kirby Moore is going to be right up there to win or earn a head coaching job. If he goes to Alabama, be offensive coordinator, he could do it too. But I don't know if that gets him any closer. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say if this happened last year coming into the season, that's a no-brainer move. But now I think, you talk about pressure down there in Tuscaloosa, brother. I think the pressure lies more on these coordinators than it does the head coach. We knew, Nick Saban's no longer here, so there's naturally going to be a little bit of a pullback, but that's where the blame game starts. And usually it's one of these coordinators say, well, damn, well, that's what you get when you run shotgun on third down, and so I'm imagining that you're really taking a gamble if you're leaving a position like he's in right now, brother. If Mizzou does exactly what we think they are capable of doing, he's got a head coaching job somewhere in the nation, wherever he wants to go. So you can get that from Mizzou, and that's why I think it would be a huge gamble to walk away from that situation, especially when you're looking at that roster with what they have, the schedule, arguably the best wide receiver in the country. I mean, come on. I don't know if you want to take that chance down in Tuscaloosa right now. And trust me, brother, Alabama's not going to have any trouble hiring somebody, but right. to go from an ideal situation to a question mark, I just don't see that happening.
Right. This is going to be year 2 in the system. You got to feel like the players are going to be much more comfortable. There's going to be a boost there. There's going to be the strength of the Missouri football team. Whereas if you go to Alabama, you'll have elite players, no doubt. But you kind of start from scratch, and you're playing for a coach that is an offensive-minded guy. So how much are you going to even do what you want to do? And maybe Kalen DeBoer may say, well, that's great, Kirby, but we're going to do it my way. You know what I mean? So I don't know, something to consider there. One thing Alabama related, Shane, and I already see it in the comments. People are like, why in the hell are we talking about a coach that walked away a month ago? Well, maybe because he's the greatest of all time. We'll never see one quite like him. But Nick Saban joining College GameDay as an analyst, Shane, and it says he's going to be working the NFL draft, and he's going to be at SEC Media Days. So I get my real question, the only thing I really wanted to get your thoughts on this, Shane. What are the odds after I started the decaying dynasty and I went on national television, Media Day said Saban's lost his fastball? what percent chance do you give us of landing Nick Saban at media days?
Slim and none. let me reverse it on you, Mike. How long before Kirk Herbstreit is trying to find Nick Saban hiding somewhere in the building like he does Lee Corso? Yeah. Hey, I'm all for this. We knew this was going to happen, and it is awesome if they really use this tool, because this is a guy. I saw a video or a picture come out the other day of him talking. I believe it was Larry Fitzgerald's son, and it's just how captivated Larry was in this conversation. You know what I'm saying? And Nick Saban, say what you want, not only is his performance speak for itself, but just the pure knowledge that he has on the game and just walking away from it. I mean, he'll know the ins and outs. So I'm really excited to see the content that Nick puts out there. But I'll tell you right now, there is no damn way he is ever coming near our booth. He may flip you off as he walks by. The Can Dynasty.
All right, Shay. Well, hey, moving on to Tennessee, we've got some coaching news here because running back coach Jerry Mack leaving the Vols for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a growing theme, Shane. Assistant coach gets an NFL offer, they're running for the hills. They don't have to do recruiting. They don't have to do NIL. They don't have to recruit their own players. So, again, this is not by any means a black mark on Heupel's program. You're across the board. You're going to see this in college football. But he did a hell of a job with Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson, recruiting guys like Cam Seldon. So I think this is a blow to Tennessee, but it's not all bad, Shane, because Auburn tried to steal away, I think, Heupel's best assistant coach, Rodney Gardner, defensive line coach. And Rodney's an Auburn grad, Shane. He said, hell no, I'm staying on Rocky Top. So, yeah, hey, you win some, you lose some. But I think at the end of the day, I think if you got to keep one of these guys, I think you'd rather keep – I mean, that's probably a poor way to say it, but I think a bigger loss would have been Rodney Gardner.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And you don't want to see any of them go, especially this late in the game here. But it's tough, man. I mean, the NFL, I saw Cole, he talked about that the other day. And, they're going to have to do something to make it easier. To make it easier on these college football coaches, because they're looking at, hey, save money. I'm going to go up to the NFL and, like you said, not have to worry about half this bullshit. So I think at some point, they're gonna have to clean it up or make it a little bit easier to navigate. So, or we're just gonna have guys leaving to the NFL whenever an opportunity comes open.
Right. And then another one that left. This was pretty interesting, Shane. I don't know, South Carolina fans. I've seen some mixed reaction on this, but I think this is a tough one, Shane. Well, he was the receivers coach. They moved him to tight end a couple weeks ago. Justin Stepp. He said, "You're moving me to tight end? I'm moving to Illinois." So he's going to go join Brett Bielema's coaching staff. And I always thought he was a hell of a receivers coach, Shane. We saw Xavier Legette break out this year. He's one of the best receivers in the SEC. 2 years ago, we saw Juice Wells be one of the best receivers in the SEC after transferring from the FCS level. He recruited guys like Traylon Burks, Andrew Armstrong, Trey Knox, and Mike Woods to Arkansas. So coached up guys like Josh Vann and Jaheim Bell at South Carolina. I mean, I think he's a hell of a assistant coach. And the fact that we got yet another one leaving South Carolina. Now they've lost a couple to become head coaches. Again, I don't think that's bad on Shane Beamer. That's what you want. You want your assistants to get better jobs. But when they're leaving for lateral positions to go coach at Illinois, or it's that's not great. But I think this has more to do with them moving him to tight ends coach when he's going to be receivers coach at Illinois. But not a great sign, I don't think, for South Carolina here.
No, an interesting sign. I this is one I didn't see coming, and it's easy to speculate because you see the path that was taken to get to Illinois. So,
right.
There may be something behind the scenes. I mean, say what you want. You may just not like working with somebody. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason you only have me on one day a week now, Mike, because eventually you just have enough because of Shay. But I think maybe there could have been some of that in the background too, or maybe, you just don't know. And again, I don't want to speculate on that, but it is a blow because you have seen a track record of creating, not creating, but maybe portraying some of the better talent when you're looking at the receiver room that South Carolina. That's not what they were known for, but that's what they quickly become when he
Right.
was there.
Right. And then how about this, Shane? I can't believe it. I meant to tell you this off air, but you go into the comments on these live shows.
Yeah.
The three fan bases that seemingly are the most represented currently: Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. So I mean, these folks are fired up about football.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give them reason to get even more fired up. Shane, Mike Elko, new Texas A&M coach, met with the media on the traditional national signing day. They had a nice one. They landed 5-star Terry Boosie. We're going to get to more of that in just a minute. But I love this message from Mike Elko. I've heard a lot about how Jimbo Fisher, I didn't do everything he should have done when it comes to the high school recruiting in the state of Texas. That is so paramount to any coach's job in the state of Texas because of their outstanding high school coaches and high school football in the great state of Texas. Mike Elko was asked about it and his relationship with the coaches, and he says, "Hell, Shane, we're the flagship program in the state." Let's kick it over to Mike Elko.
And when you've gone across the state and to CHSCA and stuff, what's the reception been like, and what have they asked from you, or what do they want from Texas A&M?
Yeah, I don't know that they've asked. I think it's just more been me communicating on what we want to provide. I think, we're the flagship program in this state, right? And if we're one of those programs, there's a certain relationship that we need to have with the high schools in this state, right? And a part of that, and I've said this to all of these guys, a part of it is recruiting for sure, but a part of it is just being a resource for high school coaches in the state of Texas, right? And it's part of our obligation to pay it forward, everything that we've gotten, that we can go out and we can talk to high school coaches and talk about X's and O's and develop young coaches and bring coaches out here in the spring and have them see practice. And I just think that's part of being one of the premier programs in your own state. To me, that's what you have to do. And so that's been the message. I don't think it's necessarily been them asking of us. I just think it's been, this is what we believe Texas A&M football should be about moving forward.
All right, so you got to love it, man. A guy gets there, your arch rival now, just won their conference, went to the college football playoff. It's coming into your conference, and then Coach Elko says, "Well, this is the flagship over here." So, what do you say to that, Shade? Is A&M the flagship of the state of Texas right now?
Oh, man. Well, your coach is coming out like this. I love it, brother. I mean, because there's always a big brother and a little brother. And if you ask any of them, they're going to tell you that the other one is the little one. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
your head coach is coming out here talking about the flagship, the state's team. You know what I'm saying? This is what we like. This is what's going to make this game so much better. We've went way too long, Mike, without these two programs facing off to each other. But I cannot wait. It's going to be all season hatred, and I'm here for it, brother.
Right, and I kind of alluded to it, Shane. The other thing that kind of stood out, I'm going to get to in just a second, but when Elko got the job, he said, "Hell, I had no relationship with Terry Boosie because he was at Duke. This is a 5-star Texas kid, #1 athlete in the country." Look at these numbers, Shane. This is what Boosie did in high school: 95 passing touchdowns, 123 rushing touchdowns, 9 receiving touchdowns, 325 tackles, 30 interceptions, 8 pick sixes, and 9 special teams touchdowns. So basically,
Wait, you sure you're reading? Is that my stats? Do you got the right one? I almost had an interception one game. That was pretty cool. It was slow motion, Mike. I would tell you that's real quick. Fat story because and I'm going to say this right now. There needs to be more big guy touchdowns. They need to be involved at a younger age. We have feelings too. You know what I'm saying? And we don't want to just block and tackle, even though we're really good at it. I think every fat kid should get at least one run. You would think in 4 years at high school, you'd get one damn snap and one opportunity because nobody would have tackled me, Mike, because I wouldn't have went down because I knew I had that one shot. You know what I'm saying? But at any rate, I was at Greenville. We were going to Greenville, and it was like a movie, man. Somebody was running a slant. Of course, I got my ass kicked. I'm like 3 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. That's why I'm in the play. And all of a sudden he gets hit. That ball goes up, and it's like a damn movie, Mike. And I'm no joke. People have nightmares about sharks. People have nightmares about gators. I have nightmares about this damn football and how close I was to catching it. And everyone is moving so fast around me, but it's moving slow, and it went right between my arms, man. That is how close I got to an interception. It was awesome. You should have been there.
So basically, you say all that to say you're the exact opposite of, and they're telling me in the comments, it's Bussy. Terry, you're the opposite of Terry Bussy, basically.
Oh, yeah, I was just bus. You know? There was no stats with me, man.
All right, so basically this kid can play anywhere, right, Shane?
Yes.
Offense, defense, special teams. Here's Elko on how they landed him and where he's going to start his career at A&M. Because, hell, this could be the next Champ Bailey, where he's all over the field.
Hey, Mike, two for you. First, with Terry Bussey, how much work did you guys have to put in to get him to the finish line? Because I understand he was committed, but when you guys got here, obviously the staff has changed over a lot. So I would imagine the relationships he established, a lot of them probably were with people who are no longer here. So how much effort did it take to kind of get that recruitment across the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I think when you're talking about a kid that's coveted by the country, who I didn't meet until I got hired, and a lot of the guys on this staff didn't meet until we got hired, committed or not committed, you have a lot of work to do to get that kid and his support staff and everybody around him comfortable, really no different than him or Ashton for that matter. But I think there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of people that go into it. There were certainly people on our staff, Brian Gross-Armiento, Rohan Gaines, who had previous established relationships with him from their time here. It helped getting Holman Wiggins in, who had a relationship with him from his previous stop, and then just others who didn't know him at all until we got hired here, but understood the priority that he was and how important he was to getting him and keeping him part of this class.
And
How exciting is it to have a guy like Terry Bussey, who you mentioned using him in the return game, but could you also see him playing some receiver at some point? I guess you don't want to put too much on his plate too fast. But the idea that he could be going both ways for you.
Yeah, both ways all the time I think is hard. But when you have a kid that's as dynamic of an athlete as he is, we've got to find ways for him to impact the football game. And I think that's kind of what we talked to him about through recruiting was, we're going to utilize you in ways that you can impact the football game. And obviously some of that will be in the return game. Some of that is in spot ways on offense. We anticipate it being in a large way on defense. And then kind of see where it goes from there as he grows.
All right, Shane. So that'll be the role for him. I mean, I can't wait to see him get on the field. We need some explosive plays there in A&M, but where they don't need help, Shane? But they're getting it anyway. That's in Athens. Come on now. They just landed Stanford tight end, Shane Benjamin. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this. Eurosec. He transferred after 3 seasons at Stanford. He's a tight end, 108 catches, 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns in 3 seasons at Stanford. And, it's just a rich get richer, Shane. They're losing Brock Bowers. They got all these tight ends still on the roster. Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky. Now they're getting this kid out of Stanford. Good Lord. Good Lord, Shane. They're tight end you now. You know what?
Well, that's how you replace him. You get 3. So I would imagine a lot of tight end love. That's a big part with Georgia, and it has been since Kirby. And having a guy that is not just good at receiving, but good at blocking, like you just don't know what he's going to do out there. So yes, you kind of created that momentum, that tight end you, if you will. I love that.
Right, and the Dogs, Shane. I just thought this was fascinating. They just signed the number 1 class in the country, Shane. Mm-hmm. Their defensive back coach, Fran Brown, who now he's the Syracuse head coach, but he still gets credited for, the recruiting class Georgia just signed.
Yeah.
24/7 named him Recruiter of the Year. And then Rivals turned around and named their defensive line coach, Trey Scott, Recruiter of the Year. So you got 2 Recruiters of the Year on your staff here. And, Kirby Smart, he's just the best head coach recruiter there is in the country now with Nick Saban retired. So, that's how you end up with the number 1 recruiting class in the country. You got all these elite recruiters down there.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike, we say that just about every Georgia coach that rolls through there. Let's just tag them as recruiter of the year. Let's see that list, 1 year after a Q's play. You know what I'm saying?
his
Georgia's the
ranking's
product.
gonna go. Yeah, his ranking's
Yeah.
gonna go down at Syracuse, no doubt.
You put my fat ass over there with a clipboard, I'm going to walk away recruiter of the year.
Well, you know who ain't gonna be getting it, Shay? That's Florida. They just hired, well, about a month ago, a new strength coach who you should be familiar with his name, Craig
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. Shane, he was Jeremy Pruitt's strength coach at Tennessee. Well, after 4 weeks on the job, he's gone. He's off to Boston College, and this is the time of the year where the strength coach is paramount. This is the time of the year where the strength coach he spends more times with the players than the actual head coach right now. So I think this is a tough blow for Florida. I thought it was a great hire to get Fitzgerald away from the NFL. He's worked with Bill O'Brien in the NFL and at Penn State, so this makes some sense why he'd reconnect, but just a tough look for Florida heading into a critical year here. Now we lost our strength coach we just hired a damn month ago.
Yeah, and again, when he was at Tennessee, I remember I was so damn happy. I was pissed off that people kept trying to steal him from us. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
he is a great coach, and like you said, it's about the off season. They are the eyes and ears for this staff when they can't be there. So yeah, the work that's being put in now that's when it comes in fruition late fall when you're 2-3 deep now all of a sudden because of injuries. It's these guys that make that development. So this is a big blow for Florida.
And then Billy Napier, Shane, on National Signing Day too, he met with the media, and again, it's always tough to get something good from Billy, but I think I found a nugget here, Shane. So bear with me. They hired Ron Roberts. He was Auburn's defensive coordinator. I don't know what the hell Billy's on here, but he always finds these creative titles for these guys, right? Executive coach of the defense is what they're calling Ron Roberts. He's not the coordinator. He's linebackers, co-defensive coordinator, executive coach of the defense. What the hell does that mean? Getting these guys and the coaching moves he made. And I'm very curious about this. So bear with me here. This is kind of like a two-parter here from Billy Napier.
I have a relationship, past. How's that collaboration going to work?
Yeah, it's been
Plays and doing all that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, you think about Ron Roberts and what he brings to the table. Veteran coach, been a head coach, been a coordinator, play caller. Austin and him, there's a mentor type relationship there. And a ton of respect, mutual respect on both sides. So I think we get the wisdom, this system, and there's a number of coaches. You guys obviously will write the story at some point, but this guy's mentored 1 million defensive coaches in his career, some of which are coordinator play callers in the NFL and college football. So I think it's a positive because I think the system that we run, Ron started that system at Louisiana the first 2 years we were there, kind of got it up and running. And then it's evolved, and the guys that have been running it worked for him in the past, right? So I think whether that was Patrick Toney, who took over, who's now in the National Football League, or Austin, Jay Bateman's in that tree of coaches. So I think we get, they call him the OG, the Godfather, whatever you want to call him, right? We get him back in the building, and he's going to make us better, and he'll make the players better. His guys have always been productive, the guys that he coaches and the units that he coaches. So there's a track record of playing really good defense, and we're fortunate to have him.
On that, I don't think executive head coach is a title I've seen before. Are there any specific new duties with that, or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, head coach for the defense, basically a guy who oversees that side of the ball to some degree. Austin obviously is the coordinator, calls the plays and runs the unit meetings, but we're getting a guy who can coach the coaches, who can approve the installation, the game plans, that, really can get the best of that side of the ball, essentially He's the head coach of the defense to some degree, So, and I think the coordinator relationship there is one that's, those guys they're loving life right now, So they're both ball guys, and let me say, we've got Mike Peterson in that room, Will Harris in that room, Gerald Chapman in that room. We promoted Callie James, who's a graduate assistant. He's kind of the assistant defensive line coach and is going to help us with the hybrid players. It's a good room, and I think they're in a good place. They're excited to work together.
So here's my concern with this, Shane. When you got executive head coach of the defense, then you got defensive coordinator over here, your executive coach is like, I don't know how old Ron Roberts is, but I think he's 50s, maybe low 60s. And then you got your defensive coordinator's 29, 30 years old. What happens, God forbid, if the defense is awful again, like they were last year? I mean, there's going to be, this seems like it's set up for internal issues, doesn't it?
No, there's no issues, Mike. It's already settled. I mean, could you imagine this conversation like, Austin, hey, man, you're still the guy, but you're going to have to run it through this guy.
Yes.
Don't come to me directly anymore. That's over. You're going to go through the executive. I mean, no. Oh, you mean the coordinator? Yeah, that's exactly what just happened. Florida just hired a new defensive coordinator, but they just put a different title on it. So, yeah, it's already a problem.
Right. I mean, and, hey, I hope it works out for them because they need something to be excited about down there. But I just don't know about that one. But hey, speaking of that, Shade, something that just was so bizarre. We don't have to go on a deep dive on this, but Chip Kelly, head coach of UCLA, left to become offensive coordinator at Ohio State. I mean, that is just so bizarre. It's clear Ohio State's all in on trying to win a national championship. But how about this, Shane? Credit David Hale for noting this here. But the hires, college football hires in 2018, these are the ones that, these were the key jobs, right? I'm going to run down them. The best one was probably Chip Kelly at UCLA, and he literally just left for an offensive coordinator job in the same conference. UCLA's in that conference now. Scott Frost at Nebraska. Oh, Jimbo at A&M. How'd that go? Willie Taggart at FSU. I don't think he made 2 years down there. Dan Mullen at Florida. That was probably, again, the most successful, but they ran his ass off. Chad Morris at Arkansas. Oh, baby. Joe Moorhead, Mississippi State. They fired his ass after 2 years. Kevin Sumlin at Arizona. Gone quick. Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. Scandal. And then Herm Edwards at Arizona State. Scandal. And what do that same cycle have in common, Shane? That was the beginning of the early signing period. That was the first time we did it. And I don't know. I think it killed most of these guys,
Yeah, well, that's one of the factors, of course, But yeah, no, this was an interesting move. I mean, again, we don't cover Ohio State, nor should we. But I'm just I'm curious. I mean, it's just there's a reason. There's always a rhyme for reason, and I don't know if maybe Kelly's done, he wants to live the good life as a coordinator, make a couple of mil for an Ohio State team that's always going to be relevant. You kind of look at that, or does Ryan go to the NFL one day, and then maybe he's looking to, hey, let me be the next man on the pole here. So I don't know. I have no idea the reason for this move, but honestly, I don't care either because Ohio State's going to get their ass kicked by, whatever SEC team they face this coming up season.
Yep. All right, Chad. Hey, before we get to the returning production, we've got the first over-under win totals for every SEC team next season, courtesy of FanDuel. So I'm just going to run through these brief. Maybe I'll just do one at a time, Shane, and you tell me right now where you're leaning. Over or under? How's that sound?
Yeah. Are we going to do schedules too? Or because that's going to be a common question. Like, wait, now can I see that?
No.
Okay. All right. I'll give you the quick version.
We'll do a full on. This is probably a full on podcast.
Yeah,
we're going to do it that way. All right.
Yeah.
Alabama 9.5.
Under.
Oh, God. You hate Alabama. All right.
They can't even hold on to a line coach, for Christ's sake, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. Just right now, so much uncertainty. I just told you how good I think they'll be, but I mean that's 10 wins, Mike. That's a playoff spot. So
Right. Oh, and always, I should say this in case people don't know. This regular season only, doesn't count bowl games, anything like that. Just regular season. Arkansas, 5.5.
I'm gonna go 5.5. Boy, that's a good number. I'm going over. They're making a bowl. Yeah, they're
Okay.
making a bowl.
How about Auburn, 7.5?
I'm not on the. I'm sorry. It's not that I hate the whole state of Alabama, but I'm going under right now. Again.
Well, 7-5, that'd be a improvement.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. It just depends. Is he going to coach the entire time, or is he going to be focused on recruiting? I don't know.
How about Florida, Shane, 5.5?
Under.
No.
Oh, strength conditioning coach out. I don't care how many executives you got in the kitchen, Mike. That's a tough menu they got to serve.
Yep. All right. How about Georgia, 10.5?
Give me over. Give me over. I think revenge tour. This is legit revenge tour for the Bulldogs.
They got one hell of a schedule. I know we're not doing schedules, but just something to think about.
Mike, they got one hell of a quarterback. They got one hell of an offensive line. They got a lot of good stuff. They're laying in third string tight ends from that could start at any other university.
Yeah. All right, how about Kentucky, Shane, 6.5?
I'm going over, Mike. I'm buying into Big Blue. And that you're going to notice a pattern here, man. I don't know, something about them Wildcats. I think a lot of people are sleeping on.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Shane. I totally missed that in the notes section. I had this listed, but I forgot. So they hired an offensive coordinator too, Bush Harmon from Boise State. He was the offensive coordinator there for one season. Before he was at Boise, he worked under Drink at Mizzou. He was a receivers coach, I believe, running backs coach. He moved all over the coaching staff, and Boise's points per game went up last season in his first year there. So he's got some NFL ties. He's been all over the sport. He's a younger guy. So I like that hire for Kentucky. So you might be onto something there.
Bush. You can take the boy out of high school, but you can't take the high school out of the boy. Big Blue Bush, come on.
All right, how about LSU? This one was pretty interesting. Shane, 9.5, over under.
Ooh, under.
Ooh, I think I agree with you though.
Yeah, that's close. I think Mike burnt me so bad on LSU last year. I was thinking they're going to win an SEC championship. So now I'm more of a prove it mode right now.
Yep. All right. How about Mississippi State, 4.5?
Oh, God. 4.5. Jeez Louise. Are they located in Nashville, Tennessee? I don't think so. Give me the over.
All right. How about Missouri, Shane, 9.5?
Over. You know that.
Yeah.
You know that. Easiest one on the board right there.
Oklahoma, 7.5.
I'm going over, man. I'm buying into the quarterback hype here, Mike. I know offensive line is what everybody's afraid of, but Oklahoma still has a lot of talent on that roster. They are deep in areas that you're going to need in the SEC. So, yes, I think they catch a few teams off guard. So, give me the over.
How about Ole Miss, Shane, 9.5?
Mike, people say I hate Ole Miss. I don't hate Ole Miss, but I don't know. Something about this story just sounds too good to be true. You know what I'm saying? So give me the under right now.
Remember these
You're putting a lot of stock. Yeah, you're putting a lot of stock into some players that just don't stay healthy. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Like, oh yeah, Juice, he's great, but how great was Juice last year? So I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, speaking of last year and Juice, South Carolina, 5.5.
Oh, poor South Carolina. Push. Can they get 5.5 exactly? Now give me the. I want to say I'm going to give the edge to the over, but that's a good line right there. That's a tough one. I would not put any money on that one.
All right, I know where you're going with this one. Tennessee, 8.5.
come on, in October. So they'll have that wrapped up. So give me the over. You know Nico's the quarterback, right?
How about Texas? 10.5, Shane.
10.5.
Same number as Georgia.
I like their schedule, man. I'm going to go over because I think they did Texas right by this schedule here. So I think right now 11-win team is very feasible.
Okay, A&M 8.5.
A&M. I'm going to get on the hype train, just not right now. I'm going under. I've been over for the last 4 years. It has bit me in the ass. So at this moment, give me the under.
Oh, they probably appreciate that, Shane. And
Yeah, they probably do.
last and least, Vanderbilt 2.5.
That's embarrassing. An SEC team with 2.5, and I don't think they get it. Give me the under. I think this is setting up maybe for the worst Vanderbilt year we've ever witnessed.
Yeah, you might be right.
They may just stop the whole construction, just say, you know what? We're done. Let's just turn this thing into a convention center, you know?
All right, how about this, Shake? College football returning, SEC returning production for 2024. This is done by Bill Connolly over at ESPN. The only critique, and I don't know if there's a right way or wrong way, Shane, but he is factoring in incoming transfers as a returning production. What's your thoughts on that, given that everybody's adding transfers, but to me that's not really returning production. I mean, you're getting an experienced player. I get it, but I would not factor that in. Would you?
No. Because how many times have you kind of banked on the kid being a big piece of returning production and he never sees the field? So, no, I think returning production should be, if you wore that jersey last year and come back, then you're returning.
Right. So it's not exactly the way I do it, but this is what we have to work with, Shane.
Yep.
And we're going to go, how do you want to do it first? You want to do overall? You want to do offense? You want to go do defense? I got it all listed here.
Let's do overall, man.
Okay. The team you were just shitting on, Shane. Leading the SEC, Texas A&M. How about that, Shane? 72% of the production is returning. That's 18th nationally. Texas A&M leading the way. Does that change anything of your opinion on them?
No, because this isn't returning. This is very happy in the transfer portal, and you're praying to God some of these hit, which they will. Some of them will, but some of them won't. So there's just too many question marks floating around there. So I get it, but this number is very skewed because of that portal.
Okay, how about number 2, Shane? Texas, 70% returning production. I bet you like that.
I do like that because, again, how can you say over? Now, there is a lot of returning talent that is going to be impacting immediately, but I feel bad because I just said that the portal doesn't matter, but, Texas also went out there and got some dudes, you know what I'm saying? Some proven dudes. So, this one, man, look at Texas, brother. They may have to run this whole thing, ain't they?
Well, not if Mizzou's got anything to say about it, Shane. 68% returning production. That's third in the SEC. This is one of the big reasons you were so high on Missouri last year. They rated number 2 on this list. Incredibly. They're number 3 now. So a ton of production, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, coming back for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming in, and that's why I was high on them. All that, especially the production on defense. I know I just said do overall, but do you have their defense? I'm just curious.
Yeah, their defense is pretty low, Shane. 9th in the SEC. But their offense is number 1.
Well, I mean, we thought last year, like, hey, man, the defense is going to be good. We just need the offense to be okay. Now it's like flipped. We know the offense is good. We need that defense to be okay. And if they are anything close to what they were last year, then that's why we're so high on Mizzou.
Yep. Now, maybe here's something to sell with the Gators, Shane. They're also right there at 68% total production returning, 4th best in the SEC. Is that enough to convince you that the Gators could be on the rise here?
Florida's a tricky team, Mike. I really do. You remember how I was telling you about Ole Miss and how I thought, hey, this story looks too good to be true? Florida's like the opposite of that. It's like you're reading a nightmare movie, and then all of a sudden you realize that, hey man, they got something here, and maybe that's what they need. They need to have the entire world against them and to galvanize that locker room, because you do that with returning talent. These guys are all bought in. They could have left, but they came back. They got something to prove. So, yeah, Florida is a team that I'm not going to ever gamble on. I mean, naturally, the 13 miles is a telltale sign there, but I'm not going to put any money on them right now either, because they're dangerous, man. You got a cornered dog that you never know what's going to happen. He may attack you. So yeah, I'm steering clear of Florida Gators, but returning talent's a big piece for them to right this wrong.
Now, to haunt us all, Shane, Georgia's 5th on the list, 65%. My goodness, Shane. I mean, to be top 5 in returning production in the SEC, maybe this is why everybody's so high on Texas and Georgia.
And rightfully so, Mike. It wasn't like, and it's who they brought back. They're bringing back, like we talked about, the best quarterback in the country. Some say the best running back if you factor in what he did down in Florida. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, this is a team that's got a lot of returning talent, and it's going to be noticeable because and that's why they always hit the ground running, because they just reload. So, and a lot of this returning talent Georgia has played starting positions last year,
Right. And then number 6, Shane, Auburn, 65% total returning production, but the coaching staff's been blown up, so I don't even know. I mean, you want the experience, but they're not going to be experienced in the schemes they're running next year.
That's it, man. Again, a lot of question marks, a lot of uncertainties, and new kids in the system. So I'm a little leery of this returning talent, but they need it. They need the bodies. That's what got them, sometimes last year was just that competitive depth.
Mm-hmm. All right, South Carolina next, 63% returning production. So there's something here in the top half of the SEC that, if nothing else, that gives you some reason for optimism in Columbia.
They need it, Mike. They need it. You know what I'm saying? South Carolina needs all the optimism they can get right now, because they're looking at a tough schedule again. They're looking at a new roster again and a coaching staff are leaving in the middle of the night to Illinois, So, yes, the return production for South Carolina is pivotal. But, again, is it good talent? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of question marks because they got some dudes. They got some names out there. I think they were one of the most active teams during this transfer portal. And if you believe in what you've got in out there, then you'll be fine. But if half of that doesn't hit, then you're in trouble.
How about these comments here, Shane, from UT Parking? He says, Auburn is a low-key SEC contender, in my opinion. And then Green Wave says, yeah, contender to go 6-6. That was a good one. That was a good one.
It.
All right, next on number 8, Shane. LSU, 63% returning production. But, the production they lost, Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
2 elite receivers. I'm a little concerned about, even if we do rank pretty high on defense returning, defense was just god-awful last year.
Well, and some were injured, I think one thing, too, about LSU is he's shown that he can do it with not returning talent. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. You want to be a higher number here, but, Coach has proven 2 years in a row that he doesn't need that return talent to be productive.
Mm-hmm. All right, next on the list, Oklahoma, Shane, 62% returning, and they're going to need it because, while 62 is a solid number, there are obviously positions where they're not returning. Offensive line, quarterback. This is those pieces are going to need everyone else around them to elevate their game coming into the SEC.
Yeah, and you could sit there and argue quarterback because I think they've got their guy. You know what I'm saying? And returning talent, I think there was a little bit of a cleaning house, buying in. This is a new chapter for Oklahoma, and these kids that stuck around will be dialed in, and this will be the launching pad they need to be relevant in the SEC.
Now, this one stunned me, Shane. I didn't realize, again, maybe I got to restudy this damn formula here, Shane, but Ole Miss, 10th, 61%, considering they're bringing back Jackson Dart. All the receivers are adding some of their own, bringing a ton of linemen back, but that's pretty low for a team with so much hype. Ole Miss Rebels, just 61% returning production.
Yeah, it is a little low, but, when you think of some of the Ole Miss teams in the past, there's a reason people are so high on them right now because what they did bring back was very productive. I think you could argue one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the SEC. You lost your running back, but you reloaded that wide receiver room on top of returning talent. So yeah, this is, I don't think anybody's losing sleep if you're an Ole Miss fan. You know what I'm saying with this production number.
Now, next up is Vanderbilt, Shane, at 60%. And again, that's stunning to me considering they lost every quarterback they have, virtually every receiver they've had. They got hit pretty hard, some key defenders gone, but Vanderbilt, 60% returning.
Yeah, all special teams. Can you believe that? hell of a punt room they got there, Mike. I'm not shitting on Vanderbilt. Because I get it. If you're a fan, if you're listening to that SEC podcast in February so that you can hear news about the Vanderbilt Commodores, you're the most diehard fan that is out there, and you deserve your own room. You deserve to be lifted up on a pedestal and petted every now and then. It's just I can't because I am so down on Vanderbilt right now, and it's embarrassing that the talent, because you've had talent come through there, you've let them go, but all of a sudden you can't find money. You can't find it in NIL. You can't find it, it's just, it blows my mind how much money is circulating down there in Nashville. And it seems like this is the only team that doesn't get a piece of it.
Right. Well, Tennessee, maybe they need some help here, Shane. 52% returning production, 12th in the SEC. That was another number that's stunning to me. But then you look at it, Shane, obviously quarterbacks changing over, but I think most will agree that they're probably upgraded there. And they lost two really good running backs, Jalen Wright, Jabari Small. But who was it that every Tennessee fan says, well, by God, we need to be giving Dylan Sampson the ball. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's
almost like you're losing some key contributors, but at the same time, it's almost like you feel like you've upgraded in talent. It's kind of weird to think about it like that. But and they did lose everybody in the defensive secondary. But again, that was arguably Tennessee's biggest weakness. So is that a loss? I don't know. But Tennessee sitting here at 94th nationally in returning production. What do you make of that?
Yeah, we lost a lot of receivers in that secondary, Mike. So cleaning house. That's what this is. This is a new chapter, and I think that's why Tennessee fans, they're not looking at this number and saying, well, shit, we're starting over. Well, we kind of are in some areas, but like you said, there's more optimism. It's like we knew what the ceiling was with some of these kids. And this new group that's coming in, it's like, hey, man, that we don't know the limitations that they'll have. And who knows, they may be the ones that take us to the promised land. So we know it's going to take some time, but I think Tennessee fans aren't upset that they don't have more returning talent.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about Kentucky, though, Shane? Only 49% returning production. That ranks 102nd nationally. This is kind of a big reason why I'm kind of a little pessimistic, I guess you could say, about Kentucky. I'm just not quite sure what to make of their offense. And now we've got a new coordinator, so that hurts too with a new quarterback and all. But Kentucky's sitting here at just 49% returning production.
Again, similar to Tennessee, almost identical to Tennessee. I think it's just time for a new chapter. And because we've tried the last couple of years didn't work, so a clean break is not a bad thing here. So what you were able to bring back, you talk about Key, you talk about Brown. I mean, you got some talent coming back on that defensive side. You got some dudes there that you can build around. So I'm not panicking.
Now, where they are panicking, Shane, Arkansas, 46%. That's 109th nationally returning production. Of course, Sam Pittman and company, they've been managed to work the portal really, really well. basically his entire tenure there. So I guess what you're kind of hoping for is they're able to duplicate that. But losing KJ Jefferson, losing Rocket Sanders, you knew these numbers, they were going to be pretty far down the list, and they're 14th in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of change down there in Arkansas, and probably needed change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and it felt like that's what we kept trying to do last year. So yeah, I hate seeing KJ leave. I hate seeing Rocket leave. I hate because that was when I think of Arkansas, I always thought of returning talent. Some of these guys sticking it out, being those fifth-year seniors and building it from within. And it feels like we lost a little bit of that here the last couple of seasons. So maybe this new crew is exactly what they need, is a new face in that locker room.
Right. And I think you could kind of look ahead, Shane, to playing a lot of youth, playing a lot of young guys. But if they can exceed expectations and show promise, then that goes back to what you're saying. Then you're looking ahead to 2025 and saying, man, we got a lot of pieces coming back.
Right.
Maybe that's a year we make the run. I mean, I think that's the most optimistic outlook I think you can have if you're a Razorback.
Yeah, just a new chapter, Mike. And if they do, let's say, exceed expectations, like you said, the next portal class that opens up, you're filling in pieces. It's similar to like Missouri. There wasn't a lot of people last year looking at that roster saying, hey, I'd like to have Schrader and I'd like to have this guy and that. It's like once they started getting successful as a unit, then it was like, damn, this team's loaded. We need to go to the portal and take this offensive line. We need to go to the portal and get this guy. So I think that's where Arkansas could be, but they got to take that first step forward and returning production. It's these guys that are on the roster right there. They have got to take over that locker room and make this about the family than the fan base.
Mm-hmm. Now here's where all you Alabama haters like Cousin Shane are rejoicing. Alabama, 15th in the SEC, returning production, 115th nationally, Shane, just 44% returning production. And when you hear numbers like that, you understand why some people are, picking the under for Alabama, thinking of a step back's coming from after losing, of course, Nick Saban. So I think it's fair to question what Alabama's going to be right now.
Yeah, and they're in a weird spot, Mike. They are in a weird spot, and you got to get used to it. People are going to be on you because you've been on top of that mountain for so damn long, Mike. I'll never forget when Urban Meyer left Florida. The best thing that could happen was the coach carousel. That's what we want. We want them to keep looking for a new coach every 3 to 4 years because we know if they find their guys, Florida Gators are back. You know what I'm saying? They're sitting there, top 5 every season, and they're going to be a step that you have to cross to get to a college football playoff or championship. Alabama's the same way. They took a couple of steps down, but now they're at a fork in the road. They have to decide, are they always going to remain at the top, a top dog in the SEC, or are they going to come down a few more pegs and we're looking for a new coach in 3 to 4 years? So everyone is hoping that's what happens. And returning talent, who cares, man? The returning talent that you do have, a lot of teams would kill for. You're talking about some of these other teams that have 60, 70% returning. They trade them all right now for what Alabama has coming back. So I'm not sweating this, but it is kind of fun. I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of fun to watch them scramble a little bit.
And this is why I'm kind of down on Mississippi State till we see what these coaches can do in their new position. Shane, at Mississippi State, number 16th. 41%. That's 122nd nationally in returning production. So, but you can easily spin it the other way, Shane, and say, well, based on what we saw from Mississippi State last year, I'm kind of happy to start with a fresh slate. You know what?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be some names pop off that you didn't even know that weren't a household name. Levy and them, they'll find a way to make. That's what's going to be so cool. I love listening to you and Steve talk the other day, and just the excitement of Mississippi State, even though they're 4.5 on win-loss total. That's where they're at in Vegas. But by God, there's going to be a handful of those games that are going to come down the wire, and you're going to watch 50 points be scored. They may lose it, but at least it will be fun. And I think that's what Mississippi State needs. They need to be entertaining, be relevant, and I'm excited about their next chapter as well.
Right. And then real quick, Shane, I'll do offensive returning production. You let me know when I'm done with this, anything stands out. But Missouri, number one, 79% returning production on offense. So Missouri, they should be one hell of an offense. Texas A&M's number two, Shane. So it's going to be curious to see what the Aggies look like with all that talent on offense coming back. Georgia's number three, 76%. Good luck. Good luck, everybody, slowing down them dogs. Auburn, number four on the list, 74%. Texas, right there with them, 74%, so tied with Auburn. Ole Miss, number 6. Florida, number 7. LSU, 8. Bama, number 9. Vanderbilt, 10. Mississippi State, 11. South Carolina, 12. Arkansas, 13. Tennessee, 14. Kentucky, 15. And Oklahoma, all the way down to 16, Shade. So total rebuild on the offensive side of the football for them Oklahoma Sooners. But they do got some nice pieces with a young quarterback, Jackson Arnold, Nick Anderson, star receivers. So it's not completely barren over there. But, yeah, that's interesting. Oklahoma's, we'll get to their defense in just a second. But, total rebuild going into the SEC on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the one that really stood out to me was Georgia Bulldogs. And I think part of the reason why they did not make that top four this year was because there wasn't the big games. You know what I'm saying? There was some close matchups between Auburn and stuff. I would expect on this revenge tour, Mike, and I'm telling you right now, it's February, expect this offense to hit the ground running. They are going to murder football teams this coming up season. Absolutely murder. Because they don't want to walk away from a game saying, well, is Georgia the number one team in the – no, Kirby is going to let you know. And I think that starts with Mike Bobo, this returning offensive talent. They're going to be that's the biggest one that stands out to me is those guys are going to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about returning defensive production, Shane? Oklahoma, we're leading the way here, 79%. So maybe we got a lockdown D coming into the SEC. South Carolina, you're number 2. LSU, number 3. A&M 4. Texas and Florida tied at 5, 66% returning. Vanderbilt, number 7. Tennessee, 8. Missouri, 9. Auburn, 10. Georgia, 11. Kentucky, 12. Ole Miss, 13. Arkansas, 14. Alabama, 15. Oh, that hurts my heart. And then 16, Mississippi State, once again, at the bottom of the list here. Anything stand out about the defensive returning production in the SEC?
A&M. I think that, again, I knew it's going to be high just because they're overall, but that's one that kind of stood out to me. I thought at times was one of their strongest, sides of the football, if you will, last year. And I don't know. There's something to be said about it because this year, when you're looking at teams like Mississippi State, Tennessee, they're going to have a terrible defense. I mean, statistically, at the end of the season because of the way they run their offense. But teams that don't run it that way, you're really going to need that defense to stand. So I'm looking at you, Oklahoma. I'm looking at you, Texas. I'm looking, or not so much Texas, but definitely Texas A&M. I think that's very interesting on if I'm looking for returning production because I did not see those numbers coming, even with the transfer portal.
Yep. Well, buddy, hey, we went over an hour plus here. Just loaded SEC show, the middle of February, a day after the Super Bowl, nursing a hangover. You got anything else, brother, before we jump off the line?
Do we not have, I should have put Taylor Swift somewhere in the background here so you can see what she's doing. But no, I tell you, it's sad. I mean, I hate when football's over. You know what I'm saying? And we're starting to crank up list season. We've already started, Mike, but I will tell you, what's getting me through the work week is you and all the work that you put in, the guests that you've had lined up. There's been some great ones. And if you're not on the YouTube, what you doing? What are you doing with your life? Get on there, subscribe, hit the notifications. When we go live, you'll know what's going on. But I just want to thank you again because in the off season, Mike has found a way to get content out every single day, so that drive doesn't suck as bad as it usually does.
Yeah, we got a number of guests lined up for this week, Shane, including a first-timer, big-name guest coming up on the next episode. So be locked and loaded. Lots of content coming your way. Still working hard to get some in-studio guests. There's going to be more of those coming. We got a couple on the books. Those were going to be coming out in a little while here as well. So, hey, football's slowing down, but the show ain't slowing down. As long as we got something to talk about, as long as we can continue to give you great content, we're going to do it. But, hey, that's all I got, buddy. I appreciate you, as always, for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.